It's gonna be a good one, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
This is another episode of UFO Garage.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Joe. And this is where we talk about UFOs, aliens, and all things weird. Yep. And we also talk about how Ben has a sweet-ass beard.
My beard?
Your beard?
Yeah, dude. It's a short beard. It's called a sheared. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude.
It's a shovel. It's a stubble. It's a sheared stubble. Shovel. I'm trying to make it cool. It's not. All right.
You know what is cool, though, man?
What?
We got Jocelyn on with us today, dude. Man. Jocelyn Buckner. It's going to be sweet.
Yeah.
She's going to talk about some good stuff. You guys are going to like this one.
She's my fave, dude.
Dude, she's so awesome.
She's the queen, dude.
Yeah.
She's the one that started it all, really.
Yeah, yep. She's the one who introduced us to all these people. She's the first person that we met, kind of in the UFO community.
Yeah.
She's just such a sweet lady. She's really awesome. And we're about to talk to her.
Yeah. We are. No,
we are.
Oh, no,
seriously.
No, we are, though.
Yeah, dude.
You better watch it.
Yeah.
We will start talking to her.
Well, shit, dude. Let's give her a call. All right. Hey, what's up, Jocelyn?
Hey, it's you guys. How's it going?
It's going really good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Did you get your camera all set up?
Yeah, we got it all set up.
Finally.
It's always something. Every show we do, there's something. We're like almost 50 episodes in, and every time it's always something.
Well, of course. It wouldn't be any fun if it was nothing all the time.
I guess I'll take that. Yeah.
It's always got to be some struggle.
Every day is an adventure.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, what have you been doing since the last time we talked to you?
Well, I've been working on my garden. I think that everybody should be working on their gardens right now. This business about truckers not going to certain areas to deliver food has got me a little worried. But, back in the day when my abductions got really there for about 3 years, were very heavy and a lot of creepy experiments and that type of thing. And one time I just decided I wasn't going to be afraid anymore. I was just going to get to the bottom of whatever was happening. And so I asked this ET that I had met, and I actually sent you a painting of her. I called her Andrea. She told me that, there's a lot, there's a lot of different layers of things that are going on. Now, if you got abducted and you had a creepy experience and you weren't afraid or of the experimentation going on with your body, you can ask them questions and they would actually answer you. And I got the impression from her that it was going to be about this time that things are going to be real dicey for humanity. And the biggest thing that I worried about when I came away from that experience was food, was feeding everybody.
Absolutely.
And I think, it's really important for us to, this summer, be self-sufficient in everything. Obviously, we're being locked down. We don't know what to believe anymore because everything is, oh, yeah, wear a mask. No, don't wear a mask. Oh, no, you can wear a mask.
Right, yeah.
And now we're finding out that maybe the COVID isn't as bad as a flu. I don't know about you guys, but when you went home after UFO Con in last February,
yeah.
Did you guys get sick?
No, we were healthy as oxes.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But Lorianne got sick.
I flew out of San Francisco and into Phoenix. Now, San Francisco wasn't bad. It was sort of a, laid-back airport compared to Phoenix. Got to Phoenix, and it was like, I don't know, it was like a cattle call or something.
Huh.
And there were, nobody at that time, we all knew about COVID, but nobody was saying mask, gloves, wash. Yeah,
Right.
they were saying wash hands, but they weren't really saying anything else.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal at that time.
Yeah, and about 10 days later, I got a really bad sore throat. I couldn't hear anything. My ears got all plugged up. I had aches and pains. Basically, I got the flu, and I was down for about 10 days. And my husband got it as well.
Oh, man.
And, so I kind of feel like I had it. So if it comes around here, I know I have immunity.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. We don't need you getting sick, Jocelyn. We need you.
No, I had. It seems like every time I go to a conference, I come back with the conference crud. Whatever was going on,
Yeah.
there. I bring it home, and I try to even isolate myself from my husband because I just, from the last 3-4 years of going, I would always come home with a cold or, something.
Yeah, I
usually
guess-
just a cold.
I guess that's what happens when you get around a lot of people, and when you're young and going to like music festivals and stuff and everything. It doesn't really happen. But
Yeah.
I definitely feel you on that. I didn't get sick, but I definitely was like low on energy for like a couple of weeks after the conference for sure. I didn't get sick, but definitely felt something.
Yeah, that's what it started for me. Was just I had to force myself to get up out of my chair on a daily basis, and then I started getting achy and all of that. But certainly the loss of getting up and about was the worst part of it. And I kind of think that I got it from the Phoenix airport, and because it was just crazy mayhem. I mean, there was a long line for the women's bathroom. There's always a long line for the women's bathroom.
Yeah.
Don't have that problem. But there was this hugely long line, and when I went in there, they didn't have any paper towels, so everybody is using those hand air dryers.
Oh yeah, those things are like
blowing the virus all over the place. And there was no soap, there was no hot water, and people were running in and out and just being crazy. Sorry,
we can hear your hounds.
my dog is playing with the neighbor dog. They do this on a daily basis.
Sounds like my house.
Yeah, the neighbor dog comes over and starts barking at my dog, and then they start running up and down the fence line. And
you know what they're saying, right? They're arguing about who's the best boy.
Yeah. Except for they're both girls.
Oh, both of my
Point taken, though. Point taken.
Both of my dogs are girls too.
Yeah, and so how are you guys been going? How's the baby, Joe?
Oh man, she's awesome. Yeah, she's doing real good. It's getting to that fun point to where like now she's starting to smile and laugh and do all that stuff. So yeah, it's melts my heart every day.
Yeah, babies are just so magical and beautiful, and
oh, she definitely is, man. And it's weird because she kind of like she kind of opened this part of me that I didn't know existed, like kind of like this lovey-dovey, like mushy, like side of me. Like I never really had that, and she
sounds like somebody got under your skin.
Oh, she definitely did. She definitely did. You know, there's and I usually get accused of that. It's like, well, you're not very emotional, or like you just don't show the lovey-dovey side very often. But man, when that baby came, I say the goofiest stuff all the time now. Yeah.
There's nothing better. So you're getting plenty of sleep.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but we get enough. Honestly, my wife is the real hero because I get up at like 5 a.m. And then I usually get home, maybe around like 5:30, closer to 6, maybe a little after sometimes, so she's nice enough to kind of do those middle of the night wake ups. But yeah, I mean, and then on the weekends, we switch shifts. On the weekends, I take them again. But for the most part, I mean, she's been great. It's been a lot of teamwork, but my wife's the real hero here.
Well, that's the reason why they invented the family bed. I remember back in the day getting a crib and a bassinet, and I never used them. I just, I'd get up the first night, and I was so tired, I just wrapped the baby up and brought her into the bed with us. And because the mom and baby are still on the same sleep schedules, I got to the point where I could roll over, change the baby with one hand tied behind my back and with my eyes closed, and stick a tit in her mouth, and I would go back to sleep. My husband never even woke up.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I highly recommend it.
Man, that's skill.
That's multi-talented.
I can barely change a diaper with 2 hands. Much less one.
You'll get better, believe me.
Yeah.
And it lasts such a short time. You'll look back on this time and think, I could never think of how small they were.
Oh, I know.
How I remember my husband always used to carry my daughters around in what we called the football hold. And the baby would just lay on his arm, and he would cradle the little skull, and he would just walk around like that all the time.
Yeah.
And you look at him just a couple of years later, and you think, man, they sure grow fast.
Yeah,
so
they definitely do.
I'm glad that you enjoyed that, because that was one of the times that I had my baby in bed with me. Was one of the most interesting ET contact experiences that I ever had. And that was, we were, my daughter was about 9 months old, and I had an older daughter who was 7, and I woke up because I could hear my daughter talking. And not only talking, but she was sort of yelling, and she was saying, "Put me down, put me down, put me down."
Oh, whoa!
And so I opened my eyes, and there were little grays, about 4 or 5 of them around the bed, and there was a taller, big-nosed gray that was standing up next to my husband's side of the bed. He got out of the bed, and they hit him over the head with a wand or some sort of device, and my husband said that he had a vision of the earth just exploding.
Whoa.
Just all, and it was really upsetting to him. And then I think there was some conversation like, is that what you want to happen? And he said, of course not. And it was like, well, that's where you're going to end up if you keep going down this road. And I'm laying there thinking, I need to get up and go see what my daughter is talking about. but I was absolutely paralyzed. I could only move my eyes. And then finally I was released, and I picked up my 9-month-old baby and was holding her and walking down the hallway with one of these grays on each side of me, and we got into the bedroom, and in the dark of the bedroom, once my eyes adjusted, I could see that my daughter was floating in the middle of the room.
Whoa.
And it was just sort of stasis there. And she was sort of blubbering, will you please put me down, put me down, put me down. And I said, oh my gosh, you guys, can't you understand what she's saying? She said, put her down. And so my daughter just sort of floated back down, back to her bed and down onto her bed. And she quickly got up and came over to me and was hugging my leg. And I could see that there was a being in the corner, but it was dark and I couldn't see. So I stepped closer, and this is when my 9-month-old baby was holding out her arms like, she wanted to go to this being. And so I let her, and the being picked her up, and my daughter was hugging that scrawny little neck and, those big bulbous eyes, and I heard her call a name or say something I assume is the name, being 9 months old.
Yeah.
She was just so happy and giggling and having a great time, and I thought, well,
Yeah, what do you do with that situation?
Something is going on here. But yeah, and I really don't remember anything else about what happened that day. I've always thought that I would have go under hypnosis and try to recall more things. But I have a lot of friends that are in my circle of Dolores Cannon friends that have done past life regressions and
sure.
And so, a lot of times, but we'll start out talking about that, but I never get to a place, I always go off the rails and go talk about something else. So it must not be that important. But I do remember the next day in the newspaper, there was a photograph of somebody saying, that they saw this UFO craft go right over, and I lived at the time. I was living in Anaheim, about a mile from Disneyland.
Oh, cool!
And so they wrote, so they had published this photo, which was very blurry, and and you really couldn't tell much about it.
Was it a nighttime photo? Or
it was like 3:00 in the afternoon.
Oh wow! Okay.
And they said that a bundle of balloons had escaped from a vendor in Disneyland, and that's why everybody saw this.
Balloons.
But the thing about it is that was a time during the Santa Ana winds. And so these balloons are not being carried away from the winds. They're flying into the wind. And the Santa Ana winds are really, they're a phenomena that happens every year in Southern California, where these hot wind will come up off of the desert and go toward the ocean. And so these balloons were not going to the west. They were actually going northeast.
Oh, okay. Whoa. Now I get the significance. Yeah,
they were going like into the wind.
Right. Yeah.
Into the wind.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you have.
And I'm I'm reading this article, it's like, calm down, people. You didn't see a UFO. You actually just saw balloons. And I'm thinking to myself, that's the first time I've ever seen balloons go into the wind. Like spitting in the wind.
Yeah. So the next morning you wake up, do you remember recalling, hey, last night was really strange? Do you have vivid memories like from the night before as you're reading this?
It was really too long ago. I can't really remember because my daughter is now 27. That was
a long time ago. Yeah.
So it was a really, really long time ago. But I do so vividly recall the inability to not move. And when my daughter sat up, I remember telling her, oh no, we have to lay down now. We just have to, this is Daddy's turn. We're going to lay down now.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I still couldn't, I couldn't move if I wanted to. So,
yeah.
It was pretty phenomenal. But I was really glad that I had my baby in my bed with me that night. That's for sure. So,
oh yeah, you said something pretty interesting, and it kind of caught my attention on how you were saying that when you walked into your daughter's room, how she was kind of just floating there, and you had said to the ETs, "Can't you hear her?" She said, "Put her down," and then she slowly starts to come down. The more and more stories that I hear, people are either completely terrified and they don't say anything, or they don't remember. But there are these few occasions where people talk or interact with the ETs, and it seems like they pay attention to what you're saying.
Silence is consent. That's what I was told. Silence is consent. So if you don't say anything, you're too afraid, or you don't know what to say, because a lot of time, if you're seeing something in front of you that you've never saw before, and usually people go into fight or flight.
Yeah.
They're either going to fight it. I'm not really seeing this. My brain is, my eyes are lying to me. It's just a dream.
Right.
It's something else. It's not, they're fighting whatever vision they're having, or they want to run away from it and not say anything at all. But as I understand it, silence is consent, and you have to learn not to be afraid. You have to face your fears if you want to know about this. Now the creepy experiments have all but ended. And you're putting the pieces together. There's been the projects like Free that Ray Hernandez has worked on, that has gathered up all of these different stories. And at the time when he asked me, he gives me this packet of like 30 pages of questions, and I went, oh, yeah, right. I'm going to fill that out. If I fill that out, I might as well just write my own book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but what they have done is tried to connect a lot of the dots. And earlier this week we talked about the giants and the Nephilim, and one of the things that was alarming to me was when I was talking with Rosemary Ellen Guiley.
Yeah.
And I got to be really good friends of her before she passed away. And she was telling me about, the Nephilim, and the Nephilim were the giants that came to Earth, like, who knows? Who knows
and for
how
those
many millions of years ago.
And for those that are listening, the reason that we're talking about this, and this is what I definitely want to talk about. We brought it up. Our community brought it up in our Facebook group, and there were some dudes that were really curious about these giant skulls that are found, and and the Nephilim. What's the connection, and why are people still finding these giant skulls and giant skeletons and stuff? I think a lot of people in the archaeology department would agree that they're all hoaxes, but I feel like there's got to be some kind of truth to it. So I'm curious to interject there.
Yeah, if they're hoaxes, then why do we have these giant footprints and these, if you go to Nevada State Museum, you can see a pair of sandals from a giant that would be like a men's size 22.
Whoa! Dang.
This would be worn by somebody that was 8 to 8.5 feet tall. We have heard the stories coming down, particularly in Native American folklore around here. And when you really start looking into it, even in the Bible, in Genesis, they said that the giants came down, screwed around with the women, and this was created this race of giants, and they called them the men of the sons of God and the men of renown. Yeah. Right. When these children of the giants were born, the gods came down and said, okay, they can't live any longer than 120 years. So any son of God, anybody walking around, and this is in the Bible. So, archaeologists take it up with some of the oldest writings that we have. Yeah. And, even there's, in the book of the Dead, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's a book called the Book of Giants in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Cool. And they talk about Ea and Anu and Enel and and all of those guys. And basically what they said in the Book of the Giants, that things in the night go bump, and you can bump back. But if you look into the abyss is going to look back at you.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay? That's why I don't mess with Ouija boards.
So there's a lot of people that just like, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to go there. Yeah. Because, in the Bible it says that these were these 200 angels, the fallen angels that came down, and not only did they screw around with men, but they screw around with animals too. Right. And they went after the sheep and the goats, and they created much bigger sheep and goats and all of that.
Sounds like a bunch of horny aliens.
Because they even talk about it like in the Book of Enoch and the fallen angels coming down here, and the Nephilim and the giants and all that stuff. So there's a lot to it. You know,
I'm like trying to think about like the.
It seems like if you go to a lot of the like the Mesopotamian mythology, they have the Oannes. It's Oannes for anybody that wants to look it up. And these were the amphibian beings that taught men wisdom. They taught them how to write. They taught them how to make flush toilets. They taught them science. They taught them, everything that they knew.
Amphibian?
And this created the land of Samaria. And this being, the Oannes, was this amphibian, and who came out of the Persian Gulf near Babylonia, and he was in the form of a fish, but he had the head of a man, and under his fish head he had this weird man's face, and under the fish tail he had the legs and the feet of the man. And he would, go around, and he kept law and order for the longest time. And then he left. Now, if you look at the Dogon tribe over in Africa,
yeah,
they say that a UFO landed and it poured out all of this water into this sacred lake that's there. And then they were like mermen, and they jumped out, and they taught the Dogon everything that they needed to know, and taught them how to. The people were starving, and they taught them how to plant their fields, and they taught them writing, and they taught them the magical arts. So even to this day, there are Dogon that are initiated into the society and taught the same things. The Dogon knew that Sirius had 2 star systems, A and B, long before it was discovered.
Yeah,
by,
absolutely.
What was it, 1937 that they finally came? So, but what happened to all of these giants is that was the flood. Basically, wiped out, Noah's time of Noah, wiped out everybody.
They couldn't swim.
And, I don't know, but, they disappeared. And then after the flood, sometime, they came back. And we know this through the Indian Native American Indian, and also the Indians, who talk about the Vimana of these pyramid-shaped UFOs that's spelled Vimana.
Yeah,
anybody
Vimana.
that wants to look it up. I actually painted one. I saw one here in Sedona.
Let's talk about your paintings.
Yeah. And so I sent you a painting of one, and so what happened to everybody? There's all these Native American tribes that just disappeared right off of the face of the earth.
Yeah,
and what we think happened is that they just changed their frequency. And they're still there. We just can't see them.
Ooh, very interesting.
And,
wow.
The chemtrails, all of this, whatever they're putting into the chemtrails is changing the way we're seeing things. Things are, when there'll be a heavily chemtrail day, and then at nighttime the sunset is just spectacular. It's really bright, and it's orange, and it's red, and these are sunsets like we've never seen before. And a lot of this is because it's changing the way that the light is reflecting, and so we're seeing more. And I believe this is why we're seeing more orbs and more UFOs and all of that, because it seems like 1997, all of a sudden there's chemtrails, and now all of a sudden you've got this huge, massive amount of people that are reporting seeing UFOs.
Yeah. So maybe the amount of light that's able to reach past our atmosphere is kind of limited due to the particles that are floating around in our atmosphere and preventing the light, the photons from reaching our eyes, and
well, actually, it's making us see a more wider range of light. because it's putting these metal particles into the air, which is reflecting
it. Yeah.
And and our eyes are getting used to this, and on the same token, we're getting things that are destroying our eyesight, like looking at a computer.
Yeah. Yeah, I always think about, like, what did people do back in the day with no sunglasses? Like, it's so dang bright outside. Maybe
exactly. There you have it.
We're hats.
That's right. And there's more macular degeneration now than there's ever been in the history of humanity. And I believe it's like we're walking outside and there's all this extra light that we're seeing, and it's in a spectrum that we've never seen before, and so we're literally burning our eyes out.
I kind of like think about it analogous to a rainbow, where a rainbow, you're seeing the water molecules and the atmosphere reflecting off of the curvature of the earth from the sunlight. You can only see a rainbow after it's rained, or if you're looking through like a water hose, if you spray it at a certain angle. I'm thinking about that mindset with connecting that to why we're able to see.
Did you see that red rainbow? It was in the paper. I mean, all over the internet last week.
Oh, I didn't see that.
No. Yeah, look up the red rainbow.
Red rainbow.
I mean, there's some pretty weird things that are happening.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to say a couple of things about the giants and getting back to that.
Yes, please.
Because the giants are not going to be our saviors. Let's get that straight right now. But there are people that are seeing giants now. They're seeing actually living giants, and we're finding giants now. Back in the day, before they started putting a kibosh on anything that they didn't want you to know, especially in the 1930s, when people went out to the desert and down into Mexico and went into these caves, and they're doing mining. They started finding all of these things, and let's just go back to 1523 when Friar Duran went into Mexico, and he came across this tribe of giants. They were all like 10 to 14 feet tall. In gosh, I can't think of the name of it. It's like Quinta Mian or something like that. But they said that these giants built the pyramids and of Teotihuacan and Cholula, and they said that
Cholula.
These guys were not very nice. And there was a lot of Native Americans that really hated the giants. Well, the giants were cannibalistic. They're here in Arizona. There was a tribe. I'm racking my brain trying to remember the names of them.
I'm just thinking about
one tribe was found by Coronado here in Cococa, and these guys were 8 to 10 feet tall. They were very strong, and if they got mad at you, then they would capture these humans and they would torture them by tie them to the stake, and then they would run up with these really sharp knives and carve off a pound of flesh and then go barbecue it and eat it in front of the person on the stake.
Oh man!
Damn, like some charcuterie.
It really is. And then even there were talk of giants that lived in the Grand Canyon. And there's this one cave in the Grand Canyon called Kincaid's Cave. It was so full of giant mummies and artifacts that Woodrow Wilson went over to see it in 1919.
Wow. So what?
Yeah, because he wanted to check it out, and then once he checked it out, he had the Smithsonian just shut it down.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts?
Whatever they found scared him so much.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on why the subject has been pushed and suppressed so much? Why is it not mainstream? Do you have any ideas of like why is having a giant relative so detrimental to, I guess, our psyche?
Yeah, I asked Rosemary and Ellen Guiley, bless her soul, the same question, and was tying it into the ETs, and even some of the people that responded to the free questionnaire said the same thing. But there is in one book of Enoch, and we know that Enoch, he supposedly never died. He just ascended to heaven. He was 365 years old. Mm-hmm. And he was told by God, take down all the information you write lots of books, and take it back down to earth so that everybody knew. And one of the things that he said was, the Nephilim they weren't really very nice.
Right.
And
you sound like a grumpy thing.
Yeah, their children with the humans were called the Raphaim. And if you look at the word Rapha, it means dead. And so they believed back in the time of Mesopotamia that demons were the disembodied spirits of giants.
Ooh.
And and we do know that evil is real and devils are real, but the difference is, a demon could take over a body,
right?
The Night of the Living Dead. But the fallen angels could also be incarnated as a demonic person. Somebody like Hitler,
Yeah.
somebody that has got a really bad side and has no conscience whatsoever. Bill Gates comes to mind. Soros comes to mind.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. But one of the reasons that there were so many people from the Middle East, from Syria and certain parts of Iraq and Iran, that were against abortion is because these, the dead babies had to go someplace, and they would be harvested by these Nephilim that are still here. And they would take that life force.
Now we're getting into some Illuminati stuff that Joe and I were actually talking about,
and that was part of it. Now, the ETs came by, and they started this hybrid program, and to prevent the Nephilim and the Raphaim from getting this life force, they created the hybrid program.
Huh.
Oh.
And they are here harvesting the deceased babies before they get into the bad hands.
Whoa. Okay, so we're thinking like there's two sets. There's the original humans that were being harvested for, vampiric tendencies, being sacrificed to these entities or giants. But the ETs come down and say, "Hey, that's some evil shit going on. Let's create a hybrid species and prevent you guys from feeding off of the life force of humans."
That is correct. And when they saw exactly where we were going, we're headed straight towards Armageddon at the moment, and there's a lot of people that have ET experiences that really believe that we're going to blow ourselves up, and that the ETs will then come down, re-terraform the Earth. They'll take the hybrids that cannot be held, for adrenochrome or any of the satanic rituals, because they don't have it in them.
Wow.
It's been hybrided out, but we're already seeing these hybrids come into being, and was that beautiful woman that we met at UFO Con that talked about it, Geraldine.
Oh yeah, Ocasio. Yeah. Orozco.
I mean, clearly,
something like that.
Clearly, she is a hybrid starseed type person, and she is a teacher. She is telling people, how things are going. And the thing about it is, I've studied with Dolores Cannon for nearly 20 years, and I did a lot of past life regressions, and I specialized with ET experiences. And a lot of these people that are coming in as volunteers. And they're saying, I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes to bring in the higher consciousness of man.
Right.
So they don't blow themselves up. So they don't. At this point, I think just about all the babies are starseeds. There's just something really, really wonderful about them, which is the reason why I think people like Bill Gates are giving them vaccinations at birth that is, shutting that part down.
Oh my gosh.
So it's the law. We can't, unless you have a home birth, it's really, really hard not to get a vitamin K that's not vitamin. And, I don't know what you did, Joe, when your baby was born, but
ours are kind of, they're very spaced out, and she doesn't get all of them. So we're we're kind of particular on what we're,
everybody needs to pay attention to that. So God bless you. And, however I just said no, absolutely not. But that was 27 years ago, and things are a lot harder now.
It is. There's a lot of pressure to vaccinate like everything all at once, and we straight up said no. Like, you're not going to put all of that in our tiny little baby all at once. We can space it out, and we're going to pick what we want and what we don't want. But you can definitely feel the pushback from them.
I think that's that's the only thing that you can do, and that's probably probably will save her life one day. I had a lot of conversations with one of my best friends. We were pregnant together, And, my kids never had a vaccination. They never were sick in school. They never had ear problems. Matter of fact, my youngest daughter, who, like I said, is 20-something now, she had her first dose of antibiotics when she was 22, and that was for a dental surgery.
Yeah.
So, I didn't have that kind of problem. And yeah, they got chicken pox and they got the measles, and now they're immune. They have the normal stuff and normal childhood disease, and which was very mild, and now they're fine. And you compare that to my friend who has a daughter the same age, has already had a double mastectomy, has hearing problems, had to wear glasses when she was in second grade. She got her periods really early, all this weird stuff.
Yeah.
And, basically, we lived in the same area, drank the same water, went to the same schools, and, both basically had good genetics going into it. But she was an advocate about getting vaccinations, and that baby that she had when that child was 4 years old spent more time in the hospital than she did at home.
Yeah.
And
you gotta,
so what do? You just do your homework and you try to make the right decisions and all of that. And God bless everybody. We all know that they're waiting for the COVID vaccination before they let us leave our houses.
I know.
Yeah, that's really hinky.
Yeah, there's what they don't tell you is that right now they've got 2,500 people in testing that volunteered. 7 have died. Do you see that in the mainstream media?
Nope, not at all.
97 of them, of the women, are now sterile. Do you see that in the mainstream media?
Oh, no. Are you serious?
So you're going to take that vaccine?
No, I'm not.
So have these studies come out about these the percentage of women that are sterile now?
I got the information because I used to work for a pharmaceutical company. It was a family-owned pharmaceutical company. There's a lot of surgeons and doctors that I used to work with. So I still have people that give me information.
Right,
I used to work in the research and development department. And, so I still know the director of the research and development department of this large pharmaceutical company that coincidentally Corey Good said that he worked for, but he did not. He's a liar. He never was there. And so I get some of the information from from my friends.
Yeah, well, we can't.
And I really can't say.
Yeah.
I just have to wait. I get this information, and then I just have to wait.
Yeah, it's an inside source.
Hit the news. But the other thing that I was going to tell you about giants is how they disappeared, and they vibrated into this other realm of existence. But we're still seeing them, and they're seeing them all over the world. And like the Native Americans around here, some of them they've got like 200 different names for Bigfoot. They call him Big Elder or Big Brother or the Night People or the Stonecoats.
Stonecoats.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cool band name.
Owl Woman or Big Owl. These are all, names for them. And they're always found on ley lines. And if you don't know what a ley line is, it's Ley line. and the Earth has natural history. It has a natural system of energy, and it's like these meridians between these points create this line, like the rose line, like, you know.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and here in Sedona, I have found so far about 30 ley lines. Some are a lot stronger, and they're all around the vortices here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
it has something to do with
one of the big points that comes together is the reason why Bradshaw Ranch has such a lot of activity there, is that's where about 5 ley lines come together, and right around that point. So there's the big girl there. There's been a lot of sightings, and you asked me earlier about an update about Bradshaw Ranch.
Yes.
The last time I was out there, I have to say, was about a year ago. I've been meaning to get out there, but, you know, I'm pretty lazy. And
aren't we all?
But I did send you a painting of the one. It had this really bright light. It was late in the day, but it had this really, really bright light that made everything look kind of yellow. And so I did a painting of it, because, of course, every time I go to take a photo, something happens. Either the camera doesn't work. It's one time I picked up my camera to take a photo, and the batteries fell completely out of the camera. I mean, you know, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Or the batteries just absolutely drain.
Wow.
You know, as soon as the UFO comes over, you don't have any battery in your cell phone, and you don't have any battery in your camera, so you might as well just forget it. And that's the reason why I had to start just coming back and kind of sketching things out, and I started doing these watercolor paintings of them, and I've been working on a book, so these are actually the ones that I'm going to be using for my book.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're awesome.
So I sent you one that I was at, it was about a year ago, I was at Bradshaw Ranch with a friend of mine, and we stayed out there for 2-3 hours. We took some photos. Nothing really happened, you know. We were just sort of walking around the perimeter, and the Bradshaw Ranch has been taken over by Northern Arizona University, and they made it a garden out there. And so you can't really get onto the property, but you can walk around the perimeter, and that works, because you just invite the unseen others over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on over, let me take your photo.
Yeah.
And but we were leaving, and we were actually in the car, and I was with my friend, and she has a RAV, and it's a newer car, maybe 2-3 years old, and it wasn't running right. You know, it was like missing. It was like maybe somebody put a banana up the tailpipe or something. I don't know, but it really wasn't. It wasn't running right, and so she pulled over because she wanted to, you know, just double check, and like we could fix a car, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
With some sticks and stones out there at the ranch. So she gets out, and she starts to go open up the front bonnet and look in there and look in the engine, and as she is trying to unlatch the hood, she says, "Oh my God, Jocelyn, you got to get out here right now. And I get out, and we see this slow-moving craft coming right toward us.
And that's the one in the painting with
and
the
it's got this really, really bright light underneath it, and my heart is pounding. And, it's like, why did we bother doing that CE5?
Yeah.
I don't have time for this. I need to go home. And so it just went kind of skirted the area where we were and disappeared. And then as soon as we couldn't see it anymore, the car started right up. Now, it's 6 miles out to Bradshaw Ranch from West Sedona, and it's mostly dirt road. And so we're on this dirt road, and we're talking about it, and I'm trying to sketch it, and we're both very excited, and we're chattering. And I look up, I see this tree, and I realize that I have already seen that tree.
Oh.
Or it's a deja vu or something.
Yeah.
And we kind of went up over this rise, came down. There was this tree. We went around a corner. We went up over this rise. We came down, and there's this tree. And it happened like 3 times. And I was just about to say something, and my friend said, what time is it? And I said, well, it's 6:30 or so. And she said, I have seen that tree now 4 times.
Yeah.
And I said, I wasn't going to say anything 'cause I didn't want to scare you. But I've seen that tree 4 times. And so we get out of the car, and we look up and down, and there's absolutely nobody out there. Well, it's out there anyway, but a lot of times you'll see either a homeless person camping out there or people that rent those little ATV type things.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll be out there running around in the desert. Nothing. There was absolutely no sound.
Wow.
It was not a cricket, not the sound of rustling leaves, nothing. And, I'm thinking, oh my God, are we dead? What happened? Are
like
we
in purgatory?
still even on the planet? And, my friend just sort of stood up and put her arms akimbo and stomped her foot and said, you let us go home right now. And we got into the car, and we were home in 15 minutes.
Wow, that's crazy.
But it took us over an hour to get 6 miles.
That's nuts. That is insane.
So, and that was when we saw that craft.
Oh.
Now I sent you also a picture of, a painting of the craft that I already told you about. Me and Melinda on our way to UFO Congress.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like she's just chatter. She's such a chatterbox anyway. We call her a little chatty Cathy. She's just chattering away. And she's chattering away so fast, it's like I can't even interrupt her. So, but I see this, something that's out in over the desert, and it's just sitting there. It's not going anywhere. We are moving toward it, but it's not moving anywhere. So, finally, I get her attention, and we were debating whether or not I had my camera at my feet in my bag, and it was I went down to get the camera. Melinda said, well, how come you're not taking a photo of it? It's like, oh yeah, sure. It's like sometimes.
And y'all had pulled over, right?
Yeah, she didn't pull over. She stopped in the middle of the road, in the middle of a highway.
I love Melinda so much.
In the middle of the highway.
I love Melinda.
It's weird because that highway is between Cottonwood and Sedona. It's always full of cars.
Right, and there was nobody around.
A single car anywhere.
That's what's really weird.
She gets out and she starts laughing. And I said, I go, well, what's the deal? I go, it's a plane, right? And she said, no, it's gone. She said that's what she tells her clients. She has a UFO night watch tour that she does with night vision goggles here in Sedona. And she said, that's what I tell my clients, is like, it's not in them coming, it's not in them, moving around in the sky. It's what you have to watch out for is the way they leave. And this was pretty close to us. I mean, if this picture is obviously blown up, but if you held your arm out and you put your thumb up, it was wider than your thumb.
Yeah. Go for those listening. Could you explain maybe the color and shape maybe of it for just those that are listening of the craft?
Okay, so when I first saw it, it was like a silver glint, like you see light coming off of some sort of metal. But there was this weird red. I'm going to say a tail or a flare or something that was emitting from one side of it. And and I kept on looking at it because it looked like just a fuselage. It was just kind of not really a cigar shape because it had kind of a bump to it, but there were no wings. And I kept on looking at it, trying to see if it had wings and a tail. And all I saw was this red flare that came off of one side. And of course it's getting bigger, not because it's coming toward us, as we are moving toward it.
Oh.
And so we get closer and closer, and Melinda kept on saying, oh no, that's an airplane, that's an airplane. I said, it doesn't have any wings, it doesn't have a tail, that's not an airplane. Of all people that could be able to spy, something that is unusual. And she goes, well, maybe it's a helicopter. So, and I said, no, it's not a helicopter either. It's not the shape of a helicopter. And she goes, well, it's not moving very fast. I said, it's not moving at all.
Yeah.
It's stationary out there. And so she just slams on her brakes, and we're in the fast lane of a 2-lane highway. I mean, a 4-lane highway. It's a divided highway. And she just pops out of the car, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope nobody slams in behind us.
Yeah,
seriously.
And I get out of the car too. There isn't a car to be seen anywhere. It is and it's absolutely quiet. It is, it's weird.
Yeah, and it says 10:30 a.m.
I mean, there was no traffic. There was absolutely no traffic. But as soon as that UFO disappeared, and Melinda got back into the car, and we headed back down 89A toward Cottonwood, all these cars were everywhere, like normal.
Weird.
It was weird. So it was basically kind of a cigar shape, but with a hump to it, and it was silver gray, kind of blend. There was some kind of blue to blend in with the sky, I guess, but it's had this weird red flare off of one side.
You know, I wonder if it's possible. I mean, let's just, go into total theory mode here, but do you think maybe, given your background and Melinda's background, this could have been some sort of like message of some sort? Maybe you slipped into a little bit of no man's land, and they were like, hey, we're just either hey, don't tell everybody about us, or hey, we're with you, you're doing the right thing.
Hey, we were on our way to get on the airplane to go to UFO Con 2020 in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That was hard to... I kind of thought that they were saying, hey, don't forget to wear,
Yeah.
Don't forget your towel.
Yeah. Here's something to talk about.
Oh, man.
So basically, yeah, that's it. I sent you another painting, too, of a ship that was over Kim Carlsberg's house. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Kim Carlsberg, but she had 8 years of abduction experiences. They were not good for her. She had a pretty hard time, but she ended up writing 3 books, and she wrote the Art of Close Encounters, and she got stories from other people, and Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, is her best friend. He was also an illustrator before he was Bashar, so he was the one that did all the illustrations in her books. And she did quite a bit of channeling with me. We did something similar to an Ouija board, not really quite the same, but sort of. I can take a photo of it and send it to you because I made it myself.
Oh, cool.
And we were playing around with this board, and it was spelling out all these different things, and it turned out to be her hybrid son, Qual, and which she also called Q, long before Q came out.
Yeah.
Then
yeah, QAnon.
And she used to call him Q or Qual. And there was one time we were doing this session, doing the channeling together, and it said, it spelled out, come outside right now, look up. And we went outside, and right over her head was this kind of bell-shaped, kind of a copper-colored craft, and it had these bright lights that were going like around in a circle of red and orange and blue and green, and they were kind of going around and kind of spinning on the bottom part of the craft.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And so as soon as I saw that, I ran inside and grabbed my camera. And of course, by the time I came out, she said, the moment that you went inside, it just disappeared. It just went straight up.
Sometimes I feel like the ET can pick up on your intent on capturing it with a camera. I think they can pick on that.
They can read your thoughts, yeah.
Yeah. So like anytime anybody's like, oh, let me pull up my phone, then they just poof,
And they said, not today. Sorry, Charlie.
Sorry, guys.
It's almost like you have to think to yourself, like you see it.
I did the painting of that. And then
I'm telling it's a great painting, by the way.
There is the Vimana that I used to be really good friends with the MUFON director here in Sedona, and he since has passed away. But he told me that, he called me up one day and he goes, you've been seeing anything weird over by here? I said, oh, Roger Daniel, I see people, I see weird things all the time. So what exactly you're talking about?
Yeah.
And he said, well, there's people that have a ranch out toward Bradshaw Ranch, in that general area. And this Vimana comes by about every night, to the point that they sold their ranch and moved to Phoenix.
Whoa.
It's like,
Wow.
they didn't know what it was, and they weren't happy about it.
Tired of it.
And so I said, well, about what time do they come out? And it was at, some ridiculous time in the morning, like, 10 minutes to 4 in the morning. And so this guy that I know, who's a cinematographer, his name is Paul, he decided that he was going to go and set up in an area that overlooked one of the the area of the ranch, and with his cameras, and he was just going to sit up all night long, weeks on end, for as long as it took. But he decided that he was going to film this Vimana, and which he did. And I believe that film, that clip, is still on Kim Carlsberg's website, if her website is still up, and it's just kimcarlsberg.com, and Carlsberg like the beer,
with a C or a K?
A C.
Carlsberg.
Kim Carlsberg like the beer, CARLSBERG, and she.
We're getting a 404, but maybe it's somewhere.
About
Sorry.
3:30 in the morning, I get this text. Jocelyn, you got to get out here right now. It's here. It's been here. I've been filming it for about 20 minutes.
Wow.
Dang.
And so I popped up and got my car, and I drove over there, and I saw it just as it was leaving. And the camera quit. I mean, he got about, I want to say 10, 15 minutes, and then his camera quit working. So he had a picture of it, but it's like way off in the distance, but it's still there. You can still see it. So I get out there, and it's to this area called the Aerie, AERIE.
Okay.
And I am looking towards Woo Ranch, which is pretty weird woo-woo area. Anyway.
Okay.
When you guys
Woo-woo.
come out here, I'll take you there.
Hell yeah.
I'm, I pull in, I turn my car off, turn the lights off, and I see it immediately.
Wow.
And I get out, and, it's pitch dark, and, you can hear coyotes singing and the owls hooting, and there was Paul and his girlfriend, and they're, looking at this event as well. And I said, well, are you filming it? And they said, oh, yeah, I don't know what happened. I ran out of battery. I don't know. My camera is not working. So, but I did get some. I can't tell how much because my camera isn't working.
Yeah.
But so it got pretty close, and that picture I painted, that was about life size for me. This is the closest I've ever been to a craft that I can remember, with clarity.
Yeah.
Wow.
Without being regressed or something like that.
Right.
And it was a Vimana shape. It was a pyramid shape.
Mm-hmm.
It had these bright lights that were going around the bottom part of it, and it just sat there for a while, and then it again straight up, just disappeared straight up.
Wow.
And it was a huge, not pyramid shape, but dome shape. But
Yeah.
you know, that type of really tall dome. And
Yeah, it looks in your painting. It's almost like a pyramid shape, but it's almost bloated at the seams.
Yes.
It's kind of like
on the bottom, and the way that I showed it was because it was tipped up away from me, so I saw a lot of the bottom.
Yeah.
But his, all you can see are these lights, the lights going around and around. They really don't see too much structure.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Going out there and seeing that. So, if you want to go, come to Sedona and go out at 4:00 in the morning.
Yes.
These weird places.
Oh, we're there.
You might find things. And I think the other things that I showed you were some of the ETs that I have. Are we out of time?
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay. Okay, so I sent you a couple of paintings I did of ETs.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at one of them.
There's this big blue-eyed guy, which I called the captain. He's, it's sort of weird. It's like, something is going to happen. Because they give you clues. For me, I get a taste in my mouth like if popcorn were electricity, it would taste like this.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Popcorn.
Yeah.
Popcorn.
Yeah. I can almost picture that. That's a very visual.
Yeah, and whenever, and a lot of times, right before I saw this big blue-eyed guy that I called the captain, I was sitting outside having a glass of wine at sunset, and I looked down on the table, and there was a praying mantis that had to be at least 7 inches long.
Wow.
Just sitting on the table looking right at me.
What?
And so
that's a big praying mantis.
These are some of the clues. It's like these unusual things and unusual size, unusual smells, unusual thing. And one of the things that I took that photo of the orbs about 3 nights ago, that was earlier. I saw those orbs, or I felt them there, and so I just took a photo, and then of course I saw them in the photo, several orbs, and later that night I saw obviously a craft. It was probably 10,000 feet up, but it was the way that it was zigzagging and across the sky. So that was another one of my clues. I feel like I need to do a little more meditation and then find out what was going. But this captain guy, he has been in my house at least 3 times.
Whoa.
that I know of.
Wow.
And right before the pandemic hit, I'd gone to UFO Con. I was home, and before they really locked everything down, I got that taste of burnt popcorn, electric burnt popcorn in my mouth, and I knew that I was going to have some sort of contact. So, great. They're always welcome. My house looks right over the area of the GPS coordinates for Sedona that were put in the Rendlesham case.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of activity here.
Yeah.
What was the
yeah, but I woke up one night and here was this guy leaning over me, looking just like this, and that's the reason why I painted it like that. He was right. He just walked right through the wall, got right next to my bed, and leaned over until I opened my eyes.
Is this the one with looks like there's a baton in his hand, or is...
No, that's another one I'm going to talk to you about next. But no, this is the blue-eyed.
Got it.
Okay.
Guy.
Yeah, we're looking at it right now. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
the big blue-eyed guy. Now the guy that's got the I don't know what it was, some sort of device in his hand. This was a creature that was here again in my house. This was around Christmas time, after I had a bunch of company. My kids and relatives and brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, and all that, and everything had kind of settled down. And it was about the beginning of the year, and my dog was going crazy. It was 2:00 in the morning. Oh, and I was home alone. That was, and she was going crazy. It was about 2:00 in the morning. I really thought that maybe a wild animal like a javelina or a deer was in the yard.
Yeah.
And that, she was pitching a fit about that.
Or Santa Claus was just late,
But when I got up, I saw this guy. He's about 5 feet tall, about the same height as I am, and he had this device. And that's all I remember.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. And
wow.
But I got, as soon as I remembered that had happened, I sat down and sketched it out. And so whatever happened there, I'm going to have to be regressed.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
So, Jocelyn, I have a similar story from a family friend that had an experience when she was a little girl. And she had 3 light beings show up in a hallway outside of her bedroom one night, and they pointed a wand type device at her forehead, and she felt impact on her forehead and just passed out and woke up the next morning on the floor. And she always remembers this wand kind of device thing. So it's interesting that it's showing up again in this story. I haven't heard you talk about this specifically.
Yeah, the only thing that I remember was very distinctly of seeing those 6 fingers.
Huh.
And he was moving them so quickly, moving his one hand like back and forth so quickly.
Oh, okay.
I focused on it, and I'm trying to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, I see the motion in the painting. It seems like there's... Yeah, okay, now I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the only thing that I remember. And the other one that this came from neat experience back in the 70s when I came across this being that could have been a reptilian. She was very beautiful. She was very tall. Like I said, I called her Andrea, and she had big, beautiful eyes, but she had this band, and whatever this band was across her head had something to do with the way that I was being controlled, or maybe it was the way that she was talking or communicating with me. She was very colorful, very iridescent. And this painting I sent to you, it's not really finished, but I couldn't figure out how to really portray the iridescence that she had.
Yeah.
Like how you look at a hummingbird, and their feathers are kind of iridescent.
Right, yeah.
That's what it reminded me. I almost thought that she was covered with feathers. I'm not really sure.
Ooh.
But I think that's all the paintings and photos that I sent to you this time.
I love them, man. They're
these
awesome.
are amazing.
I love those
So
paintings.
awesome.
They're so good. Hey, what's Sedona like in March? Is it pretty nice?
March is absolutely dicey, I can say, because we actually have more white Easters than we have white Christmases.
Really?
So it can be, we're 4 seasons here. We get snow, and it's like March can be nice and warm and beautiful, but it also can be a time when a snowstorm will come in and dump 6 inches. So
wow,
it's of course we've been in a drought, so it hasn't happened the last couple of years. But I'm in the first year that I lived here, and it got to be March 20th, which is the spring equinox, and I decided, it's time to plant my garden, because that's what I did in California on the spring equinox. And I planted, and I hired a guy, worked up all this nice big area, and I got it all planted. It looked all really great. My plants were doing really well. And then it snowed.
Wow, that's crazy.
No.
Yeah, because I've been twice, and both times it was in September. Absolutely gorgeous. And we were thinking about making another trip. My wife's birthday is in March, and so I was just kind of inquiring.
We went in February.
No, it was September. Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't been to Sedona when it snows. That sounds kind of cool.
Lockdown by next March.
Oh, I know.
It's I feel really bad because I'm really missing all of our UFO conferences. There's been 5 now that I was going to go to that have been canceled.
Man,
so
what a bummer.
And then the ones like Contact in the Desert and Human Origins. I was supposed to be the photographer there, so it's sad. The whole thing is sad. I'm signed up to go to the MUFON symposium in July, I think it is.
Yeah.
In Las Vegas. So fingers crossed. Maybe
that would be cool.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happens in Las Vegas when you get all the crew together, it gets pretty wild.
Well, years ago, we would go to Las Vegas for International UFO Congress, and it went from Las Vegas down to Laughlin, and then now it's down in Phoenix. But, we used the first couple of years of International UFO Congress, I went, and that's when I met Sean David Morton, and he took me out to Area 51.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, I want to say that was probably 1999. And then there was a time, I can't, what year did the people from, what do they call it, Heaven's Gate?
The mass suicide thing.
Branch Davidian,
themselves in March, and in February was the International UFO Congress, and I was supposed to go out with Sean David Morton that year, and he kind of just blew me off because of all of these Heaven Gate kids.
Yeah,
they were all over the conference. All over, and you could tell because they were all like in this uniform, backpacks, and the white tennis shoes, and the khaki pants, and their blue shirts, and they just had wads of money in their pockets.
Man.
And so I know that Sean kept on taking them out to Area 51 and coming back, and I remember David Applewhite talking with Bob Dean at the conference, and they got into a heated discussion. And they left. They were in the back part of the conference. You know, they have the stage and the chairs, and then way in the back there were these tables, and you know, then the doors that go in and out. And they were back there on the table, and they were talking, and they were getting louder, louder, to the point where, you know, you could hardly hear whoever was talking. Was, you know, having a hard time talking over them. And so they left, and they went into one of those little conference rooms off to the side of the main reception area where you check in. And right next door to it, to this conference room, was the women's bathroom. I just happened to need to use the restroom, and when I came out, and I had heard them before when they were at the back of the room, I think that somebody asked them to leave. Might have been Bob Brown. And so they took up their conversation. And Bob Dean, who was very mad. I've never seen him so mad. And he was talking to John Applewhite, just berating him from one side of the room to the other and saying, don't do this, you know, you're nuts, don't do this. And of course 3 weeks later they were all dead.
Man, that's crazy.
Wow.
You know, me being the weirdo that I am, the Heaven's Gate people were all living in Dennis Weaver's house down on the coast in Southern California, very exclusive area. And they were going to have an estate sale. And it was, you know, people that were in the UFO community kind of knew what was going on, but otherwise it was just a plain estate sale. Well, of course, I knew what was going on. I wanted to go see where they were living and why they did what they did.
Yeah.
So
well, that whole thing had a whole connection with extraterrestrials, right? Like the Heaven's Gate was.
Well, yeah, because they saw the comet. And what was the name of the comet? I don't even remember.
Was it Halley's Comet?
Was it?
No, Hyakutake.
Oh, I was way off.
But they saw the comet, and they said that wasn't a comet. That was a craft.
Whoa.
And that
Hail Bob.
And Hail Bob. And that the way to get on that craft was there was only one way, and that is to be harvested.
Oh.
You know, that they would harvest your life force.
So as the ship's flying over, you have to kill yourself. So you
had to kill yourself
in order
to get on the pond. And there was a particular time that you had to do this.
Like a window.
You know, in order for your life force to be harvested beyond the craft.
Wow.
And now remember, there were these guys, and when we saw them at the UFO Congress, they just had wads of cash. Wads and wads and wads. Like, I was standing next to this guy, and he was pulling out his wad of cash to buy one of Stanton Friedman's books. And, I mean, he probably had $2,000 rolled up and with a rubber band around it.
Whoa, that's man.
Yeah, and they were buying anything that had to do with UFOs. They were buying stupid socks. They were buying books. They were buying videos. They were buying anything they could. And, and Sean David Morton was more than happy to take their money.
Wow.
So he blew me off and took them instead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I guess that makes sense, right?
Anyway, there you have it.
And
right?
for the money.
So anyway, I go to this, at the time in my life, eBay had just come out, and I was a stay-at-home mom, so I had this little side business going where I would go to garage sales and rummage sales, and I would find things, and then I would sell them on eBay. And so a lot of people that ran these estate sales knew me, because I was at all the estate sales in Orange County at that time. So I get to this estate sale, it's supposed to open at 8. I get there at 6 in the morning, where I'm you can't see the house from the street. It's this long, windy road, and the sun had just come up, and it's still pretty dark. And I park in the driveway, and there was a couple other people that arrived at the same time. And one woman I sort of recognized from, seeing her around. And so I go in, and I think they thought that I was part of the estate sale, like one of the people pricing things. And so I go in, and the first thing I see, I go in through the garage and into the kitchen, and they're pulling out all of these boxes of
Kool-Aid.
Really expensive pots and pans, and really gourmet stuff. And these pots and these pans, and they're still in the original boxes. And I'm looking at it thinking, gosh, they really expect to kill themselves? It looks like they just now bought all of this really great cookware.
They could have been great chefs.
And then I saw they made their own vitamins. They had all of these empty pill boxes and these devices that would fill them up, and these grinders, and just boxes and boxes of them. I mean, a huge amount of boxes of gelatin capsules.
Whoa.
So they can make their own vitamins, and they can make their own things. There was more candy in that kitchen than there was anything else. Candy everywhere. Boxes of candy. Mars bars, chocolate chip cookies, and like gummy bears, and just all kinds of sweet treats. And I thought, God, that's weird. They're, because they're making their own vitamins, but they're eating
all this candy
crap.
Yeah, what is that about?
So anyway, I go into the next room, and there's this woman there, the Mexican woman, and she's vacuuming, and you can hear the vacuum is going, blah, 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 and she's vacuuming up stuff. And I go, what went on here? She goes, I don't know. These crazy people, they threw their computers at the wall. And I looked at the wall, and the wall is all dented.
What?
And I'm looking under my feet, and there are like pieces of motherboard, you can see the soldering, this green stuff, green plastic with the soldering, in little teeny pieces. And, it's all over. There's just crap all over, and there's like holes in the wall from where they had thrown their computers.
That's
to
crazy.
Destroy them.
And what year was this? What do you remember?
Was it 95?
98, maybe.
Yeah, that's strange because not a lot of people had computers for them to destroy these things had to have been a huge statement.
And then the other thing is in the same room, which was the formal dining room. they had boxes and boxes of things like foot massagers and head massagers and
Heaven Gate sounds awesome.
And stuff. And
Candy
I said,
and massagers?
What's all this? And another woman came through and she goes, oh yeah, I asked about that yesterday too. Apparently they sat here and watched their computers 24/7, and so it would cause fatigue in their neck and arms, legs. So they had these things to massage them so they can keep working.
Whoa.
What were they working on?
Man, I know that makes you wonder, like, what was on those computers?
They were following Hell Bop.
Sheesh.
And so then I walked through. I saw the bedrooms where they had all passed away. But the creepiest thing was I asked to use the restroom. And by this time, it's almost 8 o'clock. It's almost time, people are starting to line up outside. I've already got a pile, stuff that I'm going to buy. And, but I'm in the bathroom, and I'm looking around, and I look inside the medicine cabinet. And when I saw, all of these pain pills and killers and aspirin and Tylenol, and it's like it was packed full of painkillers and Tylenol and all of baby aspirin, everything. And I'm thinking, God, that's so weird. And I closed the mirror, this mirrored cabinet, and in the mirror behind me, I saw this Asian-looking guy staring at me, and I got so afraid.
What?
Like I could feel his fear.
Whoa.
And I turned around, and there was nobody there.
What?
Absolutely nobody there, but I could feel the fear from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head. Now, looking into this, I find out that these guys were drugged. They had a nice dinner. They had dessert, which, of course they did, because
candy.
all this candy around there. But they had some sort of, soft serve ice cream or something that was laced with something that made them fall asleep.
Dang.
And then once they were asleep, and they were sleeping immediately went down for the count. Because they're still in their clothes. They were tied up, and they had a bag over their head, and the bag was tied on to. That's not suicide. That's murder.
Yeah.
You can't tie yourself up, put a bag over your head, tie the bag
over your head,
and be a suicide. That's murder.
Yeah, that's
it's clearly murder. And when I started talking to, again, this is about 5 minutes to 8, I started talking to a neighbor who happened to stop by. And she said, yes, the morning that they, after they were killed, they saw these 4 white vans leave the area, and they thought that these guys were leaving. They were totally surprised. And they had government plates.
Whoa.
That
Oh my
white
gosh.
vans with government plates, and these guys were murdered.
Whoa.
Somebody put bags over their head, and and they called it, they called all these things. So when they say the Heaven's Gate suicide, I have to tell you, there was no suicide
It
there.
was a murder.
Wow.
They were murdered.
So the argument that you overheard, like, don't do this, I wonder if it had anything to do with him trying to make a deal with the government or whatever entity, this shadow organization that says, hey, this organization is getting too close to something. Don't sell them out, don't sell them out. Don't let them go through with it. Or, I don't know. You can take it in so many different ways.
I saw Bob Dean at International UFO Congress in Phoenix. This is when it was at Fountain Hills. So, and it was probably his last time that he was there, and he was getting pretty drunk, drinking his whiskey.
Tight.
And I asked him about it. And Bob Dean didn't want to talk about it, but he was very agitated to the point where Carrie Cassidy came over and asked me not to ask him any more questions.
Wow.
Ooh, man.
Sensitive subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Sore spot.
Wow.
So whatever happened, we'll just really never know. But honestly, there was something pretty weird about the whole thing. That whole.
Yeah, I wonder. Has there been anybody else that has come out to bring light of any of this these details? I mean, I haven't really looked into it too much, but I did watch like a short documentary over the Heaven's Gate thing, and it didn't say anything about a conspiracy or anything like that. So this is like brand new information, which I wonder. I mean, you can't be the only person to be some kind of connected to this or seen the background of some of this stuff.
Like who else knows?
Yeah, who else knows about this?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think Carrie knows, and I think John David Morton knows. Sean David Morton is still in jail. He's got cancer. He's asking to be released. Right after the whole Heaven's Gate thing, they came up and said that he was scamming people, and even though people invested with him and they made money, and then there was one investment that they made and they didn't make money, and they arrested Sean David Morton and his wife and put him into jail.
Man.
And so he's still in jail to this day. I have a sneaking suspicion that he knows things that the government just doesn't want to go out, and I think that Carrie Cassidy likely knows, and she's smart enough to keep her mouth shut.
Yeah, you have to.
And I don't know anything. All I can do is, I saw this, I saw that, and conjecture, and, but everything that I saw, particularly the day of their estate sale, and the people that I talked to, with the neighbors saying that there were 4 vans that left, early in the morning where they were found, and they all had government plates. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, seriously.
Excuse me.
Oh, shit. We cuss all the time on this.
No, that's definitely a what the fuck kind of a moment.
Yeah.
That's a story you can use that, because that's insane, man. You look at these types of things, these little these occults that pop up, and government involvement in them, and they usually don't end very well, Maybe this was just kind of one of those hey, let's be hush-hush about it so nobody knows it was us this time, I mean, you look at Waco and stuff, and it's like, dude, I mean, anytime the government gets involved in stuff like this, Ruby Ridge.
I think I misspoke earlier. Is the Branch Davidian the Waco?
Yeah,
okay,
Waco,
I confused the two.
Man, yeah, that's insane.
But yeah, that's a good point, because what do you think there's always a connection, I guess looking at these two, the Branch Davidian, I mean, I'm just fresh on my mind because of the Netflix special, but yeah, the DE or the FBI, it obviously made some bad choices, whether those were just human error
I'm
or.
stop you there, Joe, because I remember. Remember, I'm old, so I remember the Waco thing. And I was very involved with government at the time. I was at the again. I did a lot of writing back in the day, and I worked for the Los Angeles Times as a content writer. I never got a byline, but I'd go out and I would get information about stuff and send it back. And the thing about, because I watched the Netflix special as well.
Yeah.
And they did not include the Hillary Clinton connection.
Oh my gosh.
Please tell me this.
Yes.
Please tell me about this. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, Janet Reno was on the phone with Hillary Clinton every damn day of the Waco thing.
No wonder they all died.
And it was Hillary Clinton calling the shots.
Wow.
And I remember, I read the articles. I interviewed a certain amount of people. This was all on Janet Reno and Hillary Clinton and the way they handled it. Nobody had to die. They're the ones that said fire.
Absolutely.
Light it up.
Dude.
Absolutely. And it's really close to home to us, because from our hometown, that's maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And Ben's other town that he lived in, that's like 20 minutes away.
Yep.
It's right next to us. We live right next to that area.
Yeah, wow. But you were just babies when it happened.
Yeah, we were babies when it happened, but...
Yeah, and I was, in the middle of my being, let's see, I went to Berkeley, I studied political science, I was getting my master's degree, I, got a job working with the mayor's department, I was a legislative writer, I did an internship under Governor Brown in the state capital of California. I was all over it. And, I think about the things that happened back then and the way that it's affecting our country today. And there is just so much that is not mentioned or retold. So I want you to just know for your own satisfaction that Netflix show about Waco is a fairy tale, and so is Narcos a fairy tale.
That makes sense. Yeah,
did not happen like that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Absolutely did not happen. And if they want to, there's a lot of truth, but they're lying because they're not telling the entire truth.
Right.
Well, yeah, they're doing everything they can to cover their own asses, because nobody, that was there survived. There's a few survivors, right? Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, nobody can really tell the correct story.
Oh, no. And I remember the day that they lit it up, and I thought, are these people insane?
Yes, the answer is yes.
They are murdering these people. And, they didn't even go into the background of the Branch Davians and their political connections on that either. And I understand that, because, you can sit there and tell a story 100 different ways from 100 different viewpoints. But the bottom line is that was a Clinton cabal faux-pas. Or maybe it wasn't a faux-pas. Maybe that's what she's all about. It's always been all about one of those fallen angels.
Ooh. I believe that for sure. She's such an evil person. God.
It seems like I'm just I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that she was a part of it. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, like it's mind blowing because I've never heard it. but I am not surprised at all.
Very new to me.
Yeah, my goodness.
You should just go. Sometimes if you can afford a couple of dollars a month to go on the LA Times and join, so that you can go back into their
archives
and just follow the story.
Yeah,
there was it was a huge story. They had 15 writers on it. They followed it, and that was back in the day when you couldn't really bribe journalists. Everybody wanted to be
right.
Woodward
Integrity.
Bernstein. No, they wanted to be well known and have a movie after them for exposing some dirty deed from a politician, the same way as Woodward and Bernstein and all the President's Men.
Yeah,
my goodness.
It's a little different story, I guess, nowadays. So
yeah. Now it's the opposite side said, well, we're never going to have all the President's Men ever again. We're going to nip it in the bud. We're going to buy them out before they get that far.
Or it's the Trump administration not allowing certain news outlets to be.
I don't think it's anything
there.
to do with the Trump. This is nonpartisan.
Yeah, I'm just throwing things out there
about what the Illuminati and these people that are the fallen angels that are really, really evil people. They're real. You get Jim Marr's book about the Illuminati.
Oh yeah.
And read that. Then that explains everything that's going on. And Patty Greer might have been right about the deep ops and the weapons that they were using against the people that were in the UFO community. They're all gathered at one place, and you can just get them all.
Yeah.
You could just get them all. And, Patty has severe health issues. Jim Mars died. Stanton Friedman passed away.
Yep.
Rosemary Ellen Guiley passed away.
Yeah.
And, these were all people that when we saw them at the contest in the desert, they were all very healthy. They are all, just totally on. And, I know they tried to get to Michael Tellinger about, Ubuntu. They basically told him to shut up.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do anything because he lives in South Africa. So
it was like, take that.
There's a lot of
layers.
Be careful. Like I said, you're staring into the abyss. You're staring into the bucket, and it's staring back.
Yeah. I love what you said about.
The deeper you go into it, the crazier it gets. And
that's a fact.
That's a fact.
Anybody that's talking these days they're either getting discredited, they're getting shamed. Look at Tom DeLonge with TTSA. They're now calling it an entertainment company. So did TTSA really enlighten the world about UFOs and the Pentagon coming out and saying, yes, these Tic Tacs are real? Is that really real? Because it's coming from an entertainment company.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, well, the double-edged sword there is, again, maybe that's just a front, because, as long as you say it's entertainment or science fiction, you can pretty much say...
It's plausible deniability.
Thank you. Yep.
Exactly. And that's, the same thing when people come here and to Sedona and they go out with Melinda, or they have a psychic reading with somebody, and they basically just say, this is for entertainment only.
Yeah.
That way you can't go back to them and say, well, in that psychic reading, you told me I was going to win $1 million, and I spent, I maxed out my credit cards, and that's all your fault.
Oh,
yeah.
And, you said that I would be healed, and I'm not healed, so I'm suing you. And, come on.
Yeah, that's it's that's kind of hit or miss, when it comes to that stuff. I wouldn't. I mean, why would you max out your credit card? That just sounds like a bad idea in general. But my gosh.
As far as maxing out the credit cards, you're supposed to do that right now. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Before we move on to a different monetary system,
because how can you sit in your house and not work and survive if you're not using your credit card to order out food, or to get groceries, or buy diapers, or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And they're going to try to, again, when you go to these ETs and they do these creepy experiments, if you have the nerve to ask them questions, they will answer. And back in the day, I did not know what they were talking about, but now I do.
That's awesome.
And they're going to try to keep the economy shut down until February.
Wow. Well.
And they're going to try to keep you in your house until after Christmas. I'm not sure what this is about, but 5 years ago, the Queen said on BBC Live TV, which is all now scrubbed now, but I remember because, I'm old, and it was only 5 years ago. She said, enjoy your last Christmas.
What?
And I believe that this was the telling the people 5 years ago, and people, first they were really alarmed, but 1 year and nothing happened, and then nothing happened. But you know what? It takes a long time to plan World War III and the apocalypse. And just recently, the Queen showed up to address her people in the UK and Canada. She wasn't wearing her crown.
Right. Yeah.
And they took the crest off of the front gate.
I was just about to ask you about this.
Joe was telling me about that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, this is more, it's connected to the ETs in a way, again, through the giants and the Nephilim and the ancient societies, and them believing that they are blood relationship with the family of Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Wow.
There are people on this planet, that have DNA from Christ, because we all know that he didn't die. You ever heard of I think his name is Glenn Campbell.
Yeah, I know Glenn Campbell. Yeah.
And he does the Campbell agnostic training, and he died probably 15 years ago. Maybe it's Kimball, not Campbell. Kimball.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Kimball.
Yeah, K-I-M-B-A-L. And I met, of course, being a photographer and all of that, I met him being the photographer of International UFO Congress about 15 years ago. And he had a problem with his kidney, but he had all of this esoteric learning and that he had gotten from a secret society. And he had Kimball College. You should look that up on Google, Kimball College. If they have any of the information about Kimball College, this is where even David Icke got a lot of his information from.
Okay.
About the old bloodlines and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I met him, I had lunch with him. He's a big man. And shortly after, he said, I don't do conferences. I'm not speaking anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. It's not safe for me. But Bob Brown talked him into coming to the International UFO Congress. Like I said, it's got to be 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And he passed away less than a year later.
Wow, that's insane. So, have you heard anything about there possibly being a new King of England? Which is this?
I have.
Yeah, Joseph Gregory Hallett.
A friend, my friend Mike Barra, B-A-R-A, Mike Barra. And Jim Fetzer, F-E-T-Z-E-R.
He's been on the show, yeah.
Oh, isn't he fabulous?
Oh, he is, man.
He is
super interesting.
One of my favorite friends. And it's hard to get him to speak because he's got a speech impediment where he stutters. And it bothers him a little bit. But
I didn't notice it.
He's been an educator for so many years.
Yeah.
If you tell him that you're really interested in it, he throws out his speech impediment and he just goes for it.
Yeah.
But he is like a fabulous guy. But Mike Barra and Melinda Leslie were really good friends for many, many years. And Melinda and I have been friends for like 30 years. And Melinda introduced me to Mike Barra maybe 2008, 2009. She also introduced me to Dr. Farrell. You know him?
I don't think I know him. No.
Farrell. Gosh, he does a lot of talks with Catherine Austin Fitz. Anyway, I'm a dark journalist. Anyway, when I was talking to Mike and Jim, they said, "Oh yeah, you got to look up our podcast that we did about the King of England," and Jim Fetzer's all over it.
Yeah,
he is just all over it, and Jim Fetzer is friends with the guy who should be king.
Yeah.
Or has all of the credentials and everything.
Yeah. Joseph,
and they've been friends for like 25 years. So go on.
It's Joseph Gregory Hallett, right? Yeah. He's supposedly supposed to be the new
that's him.
King John.
King John the Third.
That's Jim Fetzer's friend, and he interviewed him on his show. And you can see it on YouTube, and it's fairly new. It seems like I've seen it like maybe a month ago.
Yeah, it's really new. It really is. Yeah.
And that's weird. And also weird is, what do you think, is JFK alive?
I've heard that too. Yes.
JFK Jr. He has been spotted, and he's got this different name that they use, but they, you know how they do the photo.
Facial recognition.
Everybody thinks that this guy that's been showing up is actually JFK Jr.
Yeah.
And his wife.
Yeah, because somebody had supposedly asked him, "Are you JFK Jr.?" and he said no, because if JFK did pass away, then that makes him the senior now. So when people ask him if he's the junior, he says no.
a tricky question.
Yeah.
Junior.
Junior. Yeah. No, I know. I've been following this story on the new King of England, and it's been blowing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm ready to see what's going to happen with it. I mean, it would be interesting. That's for sure.
Yes. And what do you think? Do you think it's the new King of England, or? I think it's possible. I mean, they even made connections to, the Pope not being in the Vatican, but there was a video released recently of the Pope during Easter where he disappears out of frame in a video, almost like a hologram. Like they used a hologram of the Pope to address the people, and he ended up, like, when you watch the video, before he goes out of frame, he disappears out of the video. So a lot of people are thinking that maybe the Pope and some of his constituents are held up somewhere else. They've been arrested.
It's a hologram.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's a really interesting connection that they've made. But
well, I find it very interesting, the connection between the switchover of the world power, which of course the Queen is.
Right.
I mean, we like to pretend like we're the world power, but we're not. We take all of our direction from the Queen, right?
Yep.
And this COVID-19 lockdown, what the ETs told me way back in the day, and this has got to be 45 years ago now, that there will come a time when the Queen falls down and it's Humpty Dumpty that sits on the throne.
Ooh, interesting.
I just got chills.
Yeah. Even like the connection between like the coronavirus, corona being Latin for crown, and it just so happened to start around the same time. It's almost like the pandemic was like thrown out there so that way the world powers could figure out what the hell they're gonna do with this switch of power, between people. I mean, it's there's so many connections, Most would call it conspiracy theory, but I think if you're not at least looking at it, then you're not doing anybody any favors, Well,
so I call it conspiracy fact, because
absolutely.
Said 5 years ago that this was going to be the summer of hell, and it wasn't from anything else than from just reading the headlines and connecting the dots, but already having a leg up of what to look for. And I don't know why I was given that information. I have no idea, other than the fact that maybe I've got some good karma built up, so I was able to draw my family together at this particular time.
Yeah.
In this particular place.
Who knows the small amounts of.
Yeah, but you're right. If you're not afraid, you're not paying attention. And if you don't think there's not a conspiracy, you're not paying attention.
Absolutely.
And if you think you're not being lied to on a daily basis, you're not paying attention.
I tell somebody that every single day. They're lying to you. If you don't think they're lying to you, I got a bridge I could sell you.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Really.
Every day.
I've got some really good bridges over here.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, when the pandemic started, who came out and said, okay, tourism is going to be down 40% for the year.
Right.
You're just not going to have anybody. And
that was Italy, right?
From from day one of the pandemic, Sedona never shut down.
Oh.
Our hotels stayed open. The Airbnb stayed open. We've had business as usual, with the minor inconvenience of maybe having to wear a mask, or something like that, or maybe somebody doesn't stay away for a day.
Yeah.
But we've had a steady stream of people coming here from California, from Colorado, from Nevada, and why not go to someplace really beautiful?
Yeah, well, there's also not a lot of locals there, right? So it's kind of.
And, I mean, it was just 2 weeks ago that they shut down music. And they, all of a sudden you couldn't have dancing, and it's been okay up until 2 weeks ago.
That's really strange.
It's like, if you wanted to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you didn't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Nobody's going to, say anything to you.
Yeah.
Until, yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like 2 weeks ago was.
Now the governor says, okay, I'm thinking about mandating masks for everybody. If you're out, you've got to wear a mask. And it's like, oh, good thing you're doing that now.
Yeah,
after
seriously.
the economy's been tanked, and after we, had this corona bullshit since January.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So you're going to wait 6 months and then demand that we wear a mask? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Good job. Seriously. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry for dropping those F words, but it really pisses me off that people are so gullible.
Oh, me too.
And of course, they're frightened. Who isn't frightened? Who isn't?
Yeah.
Who isn't worried about what their children's lives are going to be? We have a whole bunch of parents here that they just decided to close the school, and because there's no COVID cases in Sedona, they're closing a hospital and an emergency in the middle of the COVID, when they say that we're having the most COVID cases in the United States. Like we're number 2 or something.
Yeah.
All these and they're closing the emergency center and the hospital here because they're bored and they have nothing to do. And they've closed the school because they have no students.
Yeah, it's terrible, and people who actually need to go to the doctor and need to have these elective surgeries, which are very serious surgeries, they can't get them done because they've got everything reserved for COVID, and since COVID didn't happen the way it was supposed to, then they just closed them down. Everybody lost their jobs.
Well, don't go to the hospital right now.
Oh no!
Just don't.
They'll give it to you. They'll probably give you the COVID.
They'll just send somebody in that's got COVID, and especially if you are under 5 or over 65.
My God.
They will purposely give you COVID, and just look at all of those nursing home deaths in New York.
Yeah.
They took all of those really, really sick people and they put them in with these old people that have their immune systems are compromised by all of the flu shots they just had.
Yeah.
You have flu shot, you have a 30% chance higher than anybody else of getting COVID.
Yeah, I have never taken the flu shot.
I haven't taken it since high school, I think.
Yeah.
I
haven't been.
People haven't, but
I haven't had the flu.
Demanded. Either take the shot or you lose your job. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well,
that's what's weird is when it becomes a part of a legal mandate for the state. That's where it becomes hinky for me. Like back to the Bill Gates comment, Jocelyn, that you made about, if you don't get this COVID vaccination, I don't know, when it starts to enter health, it's almost like this mixing of religion and politics, right? It's almost like that. It's two very important things, like the economy and health. I don't know. It's like we've never.
and I want you to ask people when you hear that, what does religion and politics have to do with the medical society? This is not about religion. This is not about politics. This is about medicine.
But it's bringing in,
and they're making the decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it involves both. Which it shouldn't, I don't think.
Well, they've highly politicized the entire thing to the point to where it's absolutely ridiculous. Had it not gone to this immediate politicization of a disease, maybe people would have reacted differently, but they didn't.
They almost made it into like a smear campaign.
Yeah, absolutely.
For Trump in some way.
Americans aren't very good at being told what to do.
Never before have we quarantined healthy people.
Yeah, I know.
If we went through SARS, we went through the bird flu, we went through H1N1, we went through all of these pandemics within your lifetime as well, and they never shut down the country. They never shut down the world. I mean, people forget that this is global.
Yeah.
There are people all over the world sitting at home.
And those other things that you mentioned were worse.
Because they have nothing else to do.
Well, we appreciate that. Yeah. But, and also all these people being quarantined, this whole time, they're just, destroying their immune systems,
Right.
It's
exactly. So when you have a vaccine, it is injected into you. And so this is like a cut or a wound that your body responds to this virus as if it were a cut or a wound when it's injected with a needle. But if you inhale it through your mouth and your nose, there are like little teeny glands and all of this good bacteria that fight the bad bacteria. And the only way to build up immunity is to breathe the virus in through your mouth or nose. And what are they trying to do?
Cover your mouth and nose.
Whoa!
With a mask.
With a mask.
Yep.
And so this is an antithesis of what your human body, your natural immune system. And another thing is your natural immune system needs you to get outside and take a walk in the sunshine.
Yep.
Get out of your house and get into the bright sunshine and support your body and exercise so that you can work those toxins out of your body.
Yep.
How many people do you know of that will actually get out of their house and exercise their body during this lockdown?
Not a lot, but I can tell you one thing. I work in the landscaping business, and I don't wear a mask. And occasionally, if I'm around, older people or whatever, and they're wearing masks, I do it to respect their opinions, basically,
to make them feel better.
Exactly.
That's the only reason to wear a mask is to say,
exactly.
I see you, I understand,
and
you are a compromised person, I love you, I'm going to wear the mask.
Exactly.
That's totally bullshit.
And it's very rare that I do, but like I can tell you, all these people in construction and doing stuff that I do, like in the landscaping industry, we're all perfectly fine. We're healthy. Like, I don't think
because you're outside.
Exactly.
Having fresh air without a mask.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just playing devil's advocate here. They're just devil's advocate, just getting all the facts out there. I have friends that are also in construction, and they have a lot of contractors that, like, a good percentage of them are coming down with COVID. Like,
are they white?
They are not white.
Okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
They're of Mexican descent, I believe.
And are they being offered hydrochloroquine?
I don't know it that intimately. No.
Hydroxychloroquine.
I don't know.
Do Do you know what it is?
I don't think so. No, I don't.
This is
it's like the malaria drug.
52 cents a serving, and it's been proven 98% effective with people that are about to even be put on a ventilator. And the amount of people that have taken this drug and completely are completely healthy is at 98%. And if you take it before you get COVID, you can wipe it, just forget about it.
Right.
It'll keep you, it's like a vaccine. If you can take it so you don't get the COVID.
Preventative. Okay.
And so it's been completely, the FDA first came out and they said, oh no, you can't, this is really horrible, all these side effects and blah blah blah. And when I read that, I thought, this is bullshit. I have a friend that's got lupus and she's been taking this drug for 35 years. So, and it's keeping her healthy.
Yeah.
And so we know we have a cure. And the FDA, which is a corporation listed on Dun & Bradstreet, is stopping anybody from, they're putting out this fake news. And after they put out this fake news that hydroxychloroquine was really horrible and you got all these really bad side effects, then all these doctors and scientists, thousands of them, wrote in and said, this article is full of shit. So, we know that we're being fed a narrative, and we know that they want us to die. I mean, go ahead and smoke, because nobody has died of lung cancer since COVID-19 has come out.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. There's a guy that was attacked by a shark, and they said, oh, it's because of COVID that nobody's in the water. Mm-hmm. So this is a COVID
blaming everything up.
Yep. People who die of
counted as a COVID. He died of COVID. No, he died of a fucking shark bite.
Exactly. Yeah. Even people with heart attacks and stuff like that, they will have a heart problem, and then they'll be admitted to a hospital, and in the hospital they'll end up contracting COVID, but they'll die of a heart attack, and they'll mark it down as a COVID death.
COVID.
Even though it wasn't. It was the heart attack, and it was the fact that they went to the hospital in the first place where they got the COVID. And so, yes.
And the thing is, if you look at where they take the sample to test you for COVID, which is causing all the positives, it's back there in the back of your throat where you carry a lot of viruses. Your body kind of keeps a library of viruses that you've been up against, and that's where they keep it. But you know what else are doing there? They're putting in those little tiny, teeny, nano-sized microchips. And they're telling you, okay, now you got to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks, as you might have it until we find out if you have it or don't have it. So because you got tested, you might have it, so you stay quarantined. And during that time, they're going to start loading your information up on the tracking app. And that tracking app, I mean, that is the devil incarnate right there. Yes. So let's say that you have the tracking app, and you go to go get some fried chicken at...
I love fried chicken.
Okay. So we're going to go to KFC. We're going to get some fried chicken, and it shows up on your app. It shows what time that you've been there. Now, on somebody else's app who just tested positive for COVID, they go to the KFC an hour before you, and they pick up their chicken, and so now they know that you've been exposed to COVID. So now they call you up and say, you have to go in for a 2-week quarantine, and you have to quarantine on your own until and if you can't quarantine on your own, then we will come in and take your children and we will put your children into a safe place away from you. So if you don't have 2 bathrooms in your house, you might consider not taking the COVID test.
Oh yeah, I'm not taking it. No.
I mean, wild horses couldn't drag me.
No. Yeah, no, it's kind of ridiculous.
You could be 2 weeks, and then you get out of a quarantine for 2 weeks. You go to the grocery store on the tracking app, and then an hour before you get there, the clerk that you use just tested for COVID, so now you're quarantined for another 2 weeks.
Jeez.
They're just taking over your life.
For frickin' ever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Ever. And the only way that you can get off of that cycle is to accept the COVID vaccine.
It seems too easy.
Vaccinated, then it doesn't matter who you come up against. The ETs told me that there's going to be a time that I'm not going to be able to move out of my city. And I said, my city is small. At the time, I lived in a very small town. And it says, needs not be of any particular size, but borders are borders.
Oh, wow.
And now I heard today that Arizona is considering, because we've had so many new COVID cases that are positive, they're considering closing the borders. You won't be able to get in or out of Arizona.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I think this thing is far from over, to say the least.
That was just Act 1.
Yeah. It's.
I mean, and then the riots and that whole thing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 2 black martyrs killed by police that were both thugs.
Yeah.
And George Floyd. George Floyd knew the guy that killed him because they worked for 17 years at a bar together as bouncers, and which was also this bar was also busted for money laundering and child trafficking and prostitution, and it mysteriously burnt down to the ground right after Floyd was arrested. And Floyd was arrested. He was bald. When they had him on the ground,
yeah,
he had no hair. He was absolutely bald, shaved head. But when he was put into the ambulance, he had hair. And if you look at that video, the one thing that's missing is the fact that nobody is wearing a mask. Now, there's one guy wearing a mask, and it looks like it's been photoshopped on, especially at the point where he's like putting a pin in his mouth through the mask.
Yeah. We're looking at pictures right now.
It was filmed before COVID because nobody's wearing a mask. These people are coming out of a grocery store that work there that are accusing him of passing a $20 bill. And then it comes out later that that Asian guy is a police guy that was there for the Floyd snuff video. His sister is married to Chauvin. So that's his brother-in-law. that is standing next to him. And then when you look at when they're putting the body of Floyd, they didn't even check his pulse.
No, it wasn't even the EMT.
Well, he wasn't. He wasn't pronounced dead. He wasn't pronounced dead on the scene. They pronounced him dead after they got him to the hospital. So that's why they were.
They throw him like a side of beef. They don't do any kind of. My nephew is an EMT. He told me, it's the law. It doesn't matter if they're dead or not. As soon as you get there, you have to perform CPR.
Right.
A federal law.
Right.
These guys didn't do shit. They just picked him up, and when you put him on the gurney, you look at him. He doesn't have any legs. And then they cut away, and they cut back, and not only does he have legs, but he's got hair. And nobody's still wearing a mask. And they throw him in there like a piece of meat, and they speed away. And then we find out later that Chauvin and Floyd don't like each other. They haven't gotten along. And what probably happened was the guy, the mayor's in on it. All these police are in on it, and they called up Chauvin. They said, hey, yeah, your buddy here, he's trying to pass one of the fake $20 bills.
Oh.
And they came there, and they decided they're going to, you're out of here. Or they're all in on it, and they said, we're going to pay you off. We're going to give you a new identity. You're dead. And now you're a martyr. And, all these people, the guy got out of jail recently after he held a gun to a black pregnant lady's belly.
Yep.
And told her, give me drugs or money, or you and your baby are dead.
Yeah, I've.
And then they gang raped her and all of the people that he was. She gave him money, and then he and his 4 buddies that were helping him with this burglary gang raped her.
Yeah.
Now, this is the guy that everybody he's the martyr.
I hope that this doesn't take away from, this conspiracy thing, these facts and stuff, we need to know about. We need to know what actually happened, right? That's super important. But I just want for the listeners to know that this doesn't take away from the movement. I'm kind of, I don't know. It's something that I have nothing to say about because I have no experience of being a black person in the confrontation of police. I do know that it's a very big thing when you're a black person of color dealing with police. It often becomes violent.
I'm going to stop you right there because number one, my sister married a black guy. I've got twin black nieces, so I feel like I'm exempt from being a racist. I help raise these girls. I want to tell you something. Whenever a policeman comes into your, pulls up behind you and turns on their lights and you see it in your rearview mirror, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, yellow, green, purple. There is fear that runs through your body.
I agree.
Even though you've done nothing wrong.
I totally agree with that.
And so it's not about Black Lives Matter. Yes, Black lives do matter. All lives matter. All of them.
Well, I think some people kind of suck, so
single
I don't know.
One of them. Exactly. What happened is that we militarized the police.
Yep.
We sent the police to Israel to be trained, and that nick on the knee on the neck, that's a common tactic used by the Israel police. They taught it to us, which they learned from the Nazis.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I was aware of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, it's... we have to demilitarize the police.
100%.
You know, we
I believe
have to
that
get
for
them
sure.
out of a black uniform. Let's put them back into khakis.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe I'm thinking maybe a stretch jumpsuit of some sort, so they're really comfortable. When you know,
Yeah. I guess the point.
I mean, I'm absolutely serious. The problem is that you're taking people that have nothing in their life, and so they join the military. And then they go into the military and they learn military police policies. Then they get out of the military and they go into government as either, a policeman, a sheriff, or even, some sort of spy or security, something. They protect the president. I mean, there is a spot for all of this, but the problem was that back in the years of Obama, they decided that they were going to take all of this old military stuff, and instead of selling it at, one of those outlet stores for military garb.
Yeah, the depots. Yeah.
Remember.
Yeah, there's one in Austin that
stores. You go in and buy all of this old military stuff. That they decided, no, we're not going to throw away this stuff. This stuff is too good. We're not going to sell the public these American steel reinforced cars. We can get more money recycling it, and we can get more money taking these old ammunitions from the Gulf War and giving them to the Chicago police.
Yep.
Now, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, doesn't it?
That's right. That is right. Yeah, I am completely against the militarization of the police. That's the reason we have a military in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of time that people are just going to say no.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean. Believe me, I've marched in civil rights marches. I've marched in Vietnam protests.
Right.
I've been there. I've worked in the state capitals. I see what was going on. And I do know that everything, if it's happening, it's planned.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
That. And I think everybody else is waking up to that fact too, because they're sitting at home. They've got nothing else to do but stare at their navel and contemplate why they're here, and start asking questions. So, this whole thing, I hope backfires 100%.
Oh, me too.
You're right. I'm behind the movement per se.
Right.
But the movement gives you no excuse at all to take somebody else's property away from them by burning it, by occupying it.
Mm-hmm.
That it gives you no reason to break the law.
Yeah, absolutely.
The law says you can peacefully protest. You can peacefully occupy government areas, parks, and city halls and all of that.
Right.
But you can't go into somebody's business and throw a Molotov cocktail into it and break their window.
I'm right there with you.
You can't go into a shoe store and take all the shoes. Just do it.
Yeah, it's like all your anger is directed at the wrong people. But when you're funded by the Clintons and Soros, I mean, what do you expect, That's their job.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm glad that you gave me a platform tonight so I can get that off my chest.
Oh, no worries. Worries.
And what the ET said was, we want you to believe in us, but not too much. Take care of your own business.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like that.
Well, I would like to kind of round this back into the ETs. I had a question for you. I recently wanted to get your thoughts on this and see what you think. I was recently out with a buddy and his wife and my wife. We had went out to Fredericksburg out here in Texas, and we ended up seeing something pretty interesting out in the sky. They were little lights, but they had this flash to it. It would flash, or it would come on, and then it would turn off for a few seconds, and then it would flash a couple times, and then it just stayed there, and then it would just disappear. And then later on, about maybe 20 minutes later, right before we left, it showed up again, and it was right off in the tree line, right? And my buddy, he knows that we do the podcast, and so we were they were like, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. And I was like, yeah, it was pretty interesting. I can't tell you what it was, right? But all I know is that it looked definitely funny, and it kind of resembled what we saw out in Sedona. Well, and Ben, I forgot to tell you this part when I was telling you this story, but right after that had happened, I woke up. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had this memory, this extremely clear memory of me being a child and waking up as a child. And we talk about this fascination that we have with like UFOs and aliens and things like that. And my fascination kind of came from like this extreme fear. Like I was terrified of like aliens when I was a kid. And I could never pinpoint like the exact moment that it happened, but I woke up and I remembered me being a child, waking up and like being extremely like freaked out for some reason, and I didn't know what it was. But then my story kind of starts usually like when I tell people, how'd you get into this? And like I saw my mom was watching Fire in the Sky, and I had snuck in to the living room, and I had seen this part, and it kind of freaked me out. And I always kind of attributed that to maybe like why I was so scared. Like as a child, I saw this scary movie and it freaked me out. But I had this breakthrough in my head, like as a child, before I had even seen the movie, of being very familiar, like having like this I don't know. I think the movie was like kind of. It's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. But yeah, it definitely struck a nerve with me. But it was like maybe like a week or two ago that I just woke up in the middle of the night and I had this very, very clear memory of me being scared as a child.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I don't think I've ever had an experience. I don't think, what do I know? I've never been regressed. I've never, but, since...
Well, the next time I see you, I guess we're going to have to do a regression, honey. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like something triggered that memory for a reason.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, because I mean, we had, me and Ben had seen this thing out in Sedona and nothing. And then, I'm out with my wife and a couple friends and we see this thing again. And then a few days later, just randomly, I woke up in the middle of the night. And like I say, I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, so when I wake up, I try my hardest to go back to sleep, but I could not go back to sleep because this memory was like crystal clear of me as a child, and it was just so strange. I still like can't get over it. Like
that's
today.
Gotta mean something.
It was weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I made this connection between that time when I saw Fire in the Sky sneaking in, with my mom, and then earlier on in my life as a child. For some reason, those two things like connected for whatever reason. I have no
Yeah.
idea. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
wanted to get your thoughts on that. Maybe you think it's maybe some like random connection or something?
I do. I think that it's very possible that, well, you know that saying, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And you were here in Sedona, you were thinking about these weird things. Was this before or after UFO Congress?
So the most recent one when we went to Fredericksburg was after UFO Congress. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, it could be. I don't know if it's like
I just think that anybody that comes on this path and everybody that I meet at these conferences, they have something that is a piece of the puzzle. And, I can see it immediately when I meet people. It's probably why I took you guys by the hands and said, "This is my friend. This is my friend." Because you guys really have a piece of the puzzle. And until we know what the puzzle is, it's hard to even know what the piece is.
Right.
So you just have to keep, like when you have one of those sweaters and it's got a thread that bothers you, and then you start pulling at the thread and it starts unraveling and unraveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to just keep pulling at that thread.
I think that's every day.
And it's going to unravel the story that you knew always existed there in the first place.
That's funny you say that, Jocelyn. Like, it always does feel like a familiarity. Every time we hear something mind-blowing from either you or Melinda or
Florian.
Yeah, it always feels like once I know about it, that initial shock wave is over. It's almost like this feeling of, I knew it.
Yeah.
Like, that was just confirmation. You're not coming here for any psychic information. You're just coming here for confirmation.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell most of the people that want to have like readings from me. I'm just confirming exactly what they already know.
Yeah.
And, we already know that we're going to come out okay from on the other side, and that this whole COVID thing is really showing us that how corrupt our entire government is, and how we need to start making better decisions and being a little bit more involved and not so lackadaisical, and trusting other.
Completely agree with that.
Quote, air quotes, experts to make our decisions for us. It's just like, that's not working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody has to step up. Everybody is an individual, and all lives matter. All your opinions matter. All of your energy matters. And the only way that we're going to get over to the other side is when we come together and love and in unity. And if you don't agree with everything that I say, that's fine. It was fine before COVID. Why is it so different now?
Yeah.
What difference does it make if I'm a libertarian, a Democrat, or a Republican, or the man in the moon? It doesn't matter. I am your sister, and I am standing next to you with love and companionship and humanity, and knowing that there is a higher law. And as soon as we understand that we can step up to that higher law and we can start speaking from our heart, our truest desires, then we will jump the shark and become a much better mankind, a much kinder mankind. And it doesn't matter what the bankers say. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. What matters is how much love you can give humanity to make this a better world.
That was beautiful.
Woo!
That was
Beautiful.
good. I loved it.
Jocelyn.
With
Yeah.
that, guys,
Beautiful.
I'm going to have to go. I love you so much.
Hey,
but
no
we've been
worries.
on the phone for 3 freaking hours.
I know it just flies by so
does.
fast when
I
we
know,
have
my
you guys
family
on.
keeps looking out the window.
Oh man, well that was a great note to end on. For
Yeah,
sure.
that was a great-
some positivity.
Yes.
And encouragement. I
Yes.
love it. I love it.
We love you so much, Jocelyn. Thank you so much for.
I love you too, guys. You take care of that little baby girl.
Oh, I will.
Get to Sedona whenever you can, or I'll see you at the next available conference.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Okay, you guys.
All right,
Much
Jocelyn.
love, and signing off. This is Jocelyn Buckner from Sedona, Arizona, and I'm out of here.
Perfect.
Right.
All right, we'll talk to you
Okay.
later.
Have a
Guys.
have a good night.
All right.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that was great, man.
Wow. Oh, dude, like what?
It was cool because that was a different perspective from her, right? Like that was a different, like, kind of like it was like a different Jocelyn almost than
Yeah.
like the first time we had her
Yeah.
on, where it was just like a lot of stories, explanation.
Yeah.
This was kind of the same thing at the beginning, but then she was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Well,
that's kind of the side that you and I have both seen personally with
Right,
Jocelyn,
right.
like getting to know her as a person, which
Yeah.
I really appreciated, because I feel like, yeah, halfway through, it's like, let me tell you how I really feel about stuff. We started getting into the king stuff, which was amazing timing. Like we've been wanting to talk about that. We got into some political things. I still have some things to get off my chest about the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, we don't know where they're coming from. I just want to say this, like, I don't want to have this be a platform to be one-sided or the other, because I feel like I don't have a perspective. All my perspective is that I come from a family of law enforcement, and I know that there are good people in law enforcement and there are bad people, and I feel like you hear more and you see more. My black friends say that they have to hide from the police, even though they're just sitting in their front yard. Like, I just know that from personal experience. Like, it's different. Like, that's all I want to say now that, I guess we do have a platform, but there is a difference between a white person, a Mexican person, a black person, a Filipino person, a Chinese person. Everybody's different. I think that America knows that there is a difference, and we're paying attention to the people that are getting discriminated against the most. And I do believe that exists.
And that's what needs to be fixed. Is
That's
the
what needs
fact
to be
that there
fixed.
doesn't need to be a difference
Yes.
in the way it's handled between whoever you are.
Yep.
And that needs to be fixed.
It
And
does.
I think Jocelyn kind of hit the nail right on the head
Yes.
when she was like, yeah, we need to stop militarizing the police.
Exactly.
And just letting these people come in,
Right.
with these tactics that were taught to us by the fucking Nazis.
Exactly.
Like, it's just, we need to reel this shit in.
Right.
We
She
can't be doing
wasn't
that.
saying, "Oh, it doesn't exist." She was saying, "Yes, it does exist." But the reason why the shit has gone sour is because it is militarized. They learned this shit from the Nazis. Like, this is racism.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I left to pee, not because I was like trying to not whatever. But I felt like there was some tension for a little bit. But I mean, dude, I back up Jocelyn. I love her like to the fullest. Her perspective is totally
Well, that's what this show is about, man.
Yeah.
UFOs, aliens, all things weird.
man.
And we're not a gotcha kind of a show.
No.
I want to hear your opinion.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And then whoever listens to this can hear your opinion as well, and if they are down with it, cool. If they're not, cool, move on to the next one.
I prefer
something
not
for everybody.
not to talk about politics, but I'd rather just stick to aliens and weird shit.
Yeah,
but
yeah. But if you can make the connection, then
Yeah.
then hit the ball. You
Well,
know?
that's the thing
So-
is that I think that Jocelyn has a very, I mean, man, she's so smart. Like, she's able to connect all these things.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah.
and she was like able
web.
to. Yeah. Oh my God. There is. There is a huge web, and man, yeah, that was such an awesome talk, dude.
Yeah, that was cool.
So, I
That
love
was really
that
good.
I love that we got to talk about like the dark shit we've been talking about,
Yeah.
the like adrenochrome and the Illuminati and like sacrificing babies and vampirialism and shit like that.
That was cool.
You know, like people give Alex Jones shit for, right? Like,
yeah.
but you know, look into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We might sound crazy, but it's fun. It's fun to look into.
We
And if
might
it's true-
sound crazy, but it's worth looking into, right? Exactly, because you're about to say that.
the turn of the frog's gay. That's what I was gonna say.
No, that's not at all.
Black Hawk helicopters.
Oh man,
dude.
Well, that was a good one, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it for me, dude.
Yeah, me too, brother.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Pound it.
Oh, we hit wedding rings, dude.
Oh, dude,
That was
hey,
sick, man.
All right.
hell yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. All
How
right,
high my
guys.
hands are on my hips.
Well, was another episode
of
UFO Garage. Peace.